Tonight's webinar is on the recreational and development matrices that have been created by the Ontario Soccer Association. Unfortunately, Carol Horton, who was scheduled to deliver tonight's webinar, can't be with us due to a family emergency, and we wish Carol all the very best with that. So unfortunately, you have to put up with me for the next 30 minutes or so. The current matrices we have, there are 4 of them, 2 for the outdoor game and 2 for the indoor game. The indoor games are recent additions, and they will come into effect in winter season 2015-2016 for both recreational players and development players. So this winter, any teams, any clubs entering indoor programs, we would expect them in a development program to follow the matrices. The recreational indoor matrices, just like the recreational outdoor matrices, is best practices, and it's something we strongly advise clubs to do, but they are not mandated to do that. As you can see, the matrices are color-coded, and they're available on the OSA website under the Grassroots tab, under Grassroots Resources. We encourage you to look at the matrices as we update them on a regular basis, and you'll find a date up in the top right-hand corner that will indicate the latest version of the matrix. So in the past, if you have printed one out, you may find it is outdated. So please check the OSA's website for the most recent version of any of the 4 matrices. So the question we ask is why do we have the matrices? Why do we go to the trouble of creating the matrices? The matrix was created by the Technical Advisory Committee of the Ontario Soccer Association. This is a group of individuals from all areas of the game, from coaching, both at the youth level, the pro level, administrators of the game, match officials of the game, who came together and still come together to implement the long-term player development program. And the matrices were one of the first things that were created by the Technical Advisory Committee, presented to OSA technical staff, and then approved by the OSA board. It's a consistent document. We would like to think that it's been applied consistently all across the province. Like long-term player development, it is player-centered. It's what we think is best for the players. The indoor matrix was created as there were different versions of the indoor game being played. So for example, an 8-year-old may be playing 5v5 during his summer or her summer program. Then going indoors, they may be playing a different version of the game. They may be playing 7v7. So we like to think that if 5v5 is a format for under 8s during the summer, then they should play the same format during the winter with the same size ball, the same size fields, etc., etc. So the indoor matrix was created to ensure that consistency across all programming for the young players. Also, the matrix ensures consistency across the province. District to district, each of the 21 districts would apply the matrix in a consistent fashion. It's also a quick, easy document that explains the playing formats for grassroots soccer. Reading rules, as I'm sure you can all attest to, can be a challenge, a formidable challenge trying to find the particular rule you're looking for. Whereas the matrix, one page, double-sided, you can quickly find the particular detail you're looking for the particular age group you're working with or concerned about. The matrix is the default document for grassroots soccer in Ontario. So if you will find in the OSA rules that the grassroots soccer matrices, development and recreational, are quoted. So if you have a contradiction in rules, then we refer to the matrix as the default document and the correct document to follow. It eliminates pages and pages of rules, as I've explained. It's never nice or easy for people to find rules at time, and we think the one-page document can help with that. There's a bit of history behind the matrices, and I've explained a little bit about that. The first matrix was created, as I mentioned, by the Technical Advisory Council of the OSA back in the fall of 2012, and then shortly after that was implemented. Some clubs and districts were a little bit ahead of the curve and made the changes in 2013, and then the development matrix became mandatory in April of 2014 for clubs involved in development programming. The recreational matrix, as we've mentioned previously, is a series of best standards or best practices that we'd like recreational programs within their clubs to follow. Is that what we feel is best for the development of the young players? So that's a bit of the history behind the matrices, where they came from. The matrices now are updated by the Technical Advisory Council and technical staff at the OSA and approved by the Executive Director of the Ontario Soccer Association. This slide here talks about best practices, raising standards, standards that we'd like to follow. And you'll notice the Club Excellence Award logo there. Clubs who apply for a Club Excellence Award, be it bronze, silver or gold, must follow the development matrix in each of the components of it to successfully gain the award that they've applied for. Likewise in OPDL, those clubs who are members of the Ontario Player Development League must follow the matrices in their development in recreational programs. And these clubs are routinely audited to make sure that they're following these best practices as outlined in the matrix and the grassroots development programs within their clubs. Well, I must, sorry for going on, but if you have some questions, please use the question box to record your questions, ask your questions. Unfortunately, I won't be able to answer them tonight because I'm driving alone. I don't have someone to help me, but we will certainly answer your questions after the webinar, and we'll get them out to you as soon as possible following the webinar. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to record them in the question box. You'll all see in the handouts panel 4 handouts. Those 4 handouts are each of the 4 matrices. So indoor and outdoor matrices, development and recreational. So if you don't have copies of those, feel free to download them there from that handout panel. So which matrix should we follow? There has been some questions asked to what matrix applies to what team, and it's very, very simple. The recreational matrix is for players that play within their own club, in the past called house league programs. So these are players playing within their own club. They're not traveling outside of their club to play against other clubs in competition. So those players, those teams would follow the recreational matrix. The development matrix is for players and teams within clubs in development programs to compete against other players from other clubs, and usually they have to travel outside of their own club boundaries for the competition. So again, if you're in a development program, at one time called a rep program or a representative program, some parts of the province call them travel programs, those players would follow the development matrix. As I'm sure you're aware, a grassroots player can only be registered 1 registration per season and cannot be registered in both recreational and development programs. So a player would be registered to one or the other, either a recreational program or a development program. They can't be registered in both programs. The indoor matrix, we spoke briefly about that. The indoor matrix comes into effect this coming winter, 2015-2016, and it's a consistent approach to the indoor game for players across Ontario. You will find that if you've read the indoor matrix, it's very, very similar to the outdoor matrix. The indoor matrix was created following meetings with the Indoor Facilities Group, which is a committee part of the OSA, and then that group, along with the Technical Advisory Committee, were instrumental in the creation of the indoor matrix. So again, it's to give consistency from summer soccer programs into winter summer programs, and applying those best practices that are in the outdoor program, then it runs into the indoor program. We're going to look at some of the components of the matrices now, both the recreational and development. This slide here, you'll see the recreation matrix at the top of the page, the blue, and the development matrix below it in the red. As you can see, we've circled a couple of areas there. No scores, no standing, no promotion, and relegation. So that's a big part of the matrix and one of the first things that was implemented. The reason that was done, as you can see there, was to allow coaches to work with the players, develop players without the pressure of winning games and having to win games to win trophies or having to win games to avoid relegation. Now players should be allowed to play and enjoy the game without that added pressure of having to win or having to avoid relegation to stay in particular leagues or win to gain promotion into other leagues. So again, it's a player-centered model and allowing the players to make mistakes without the fear of the reprimand or the fear of consequences by the team losing the game. So mistakes, as we know, are a way of learning. We encourage mistakes, players are challenged, and they will make mistakes. And that's a good learning environment for players to be in. The game leader is another part of the matrix, and here you'll see it circled here in this extract from the matrix. The game leader is a relatively new development. The game leader is a program that replaces match officials at the U8 age group, those young players who are 7 and 8 years of age who are playing 5v5. And for some of these players, this is their first step in soccer and certainly their first step into competitive soccer. The game leader program was created to help players. This would be the coach or the assistant on the field helping players understand the game and understand decisions that the game leader has made. It has been in place for a couple of years and now it's mandatory in 2016. So the start of summer season 2016, anyone officiating at a U8 5v5 game, typically in a festival environment, would be required to have successfully attained the game leader certification. Getting the game leader certification is a relatively simple process. It's an online webinar with a short quiz at the end. On successful completion of the quiz, you can download and print a certificate which has a unique certification number, and that number would be recorded by your club, kept on record, and that would allow you to be a game leader for U8, the U8 age group. There is a fee involved. Originally the course was free, but now this year the cost for that course has to be passed on to each of the clubs. So if you're not a game leader and you're interested in becoming a game leader, please contact your club and express your interest, and they can guide you through the process. Game day roster size is another part of the matrix that has some interest and we've received questions on. You see the ideal size. So for example, at U9 and U10, ideal 9, maximum 12. So U9s and U10s, 7v7 is ideal. So we'd like to think 2 players sitting on the bench and being substituted in. It's a good way for a good amount of players to get lots of playing time. If that number goes to 10, 11 or 12, obviously more players are sitting and then less players getting a good amount of playing time. So if possible, if you're a coach, if you're in charge of a program at your club, ideally we'd like to keep those game day roster numbers relatively low, with 2 or 3 substitutes per group to allow lots of playing time for the players. The game day rosters are flexible and can change from game to game. So one game you may have 9, the next game you may have 10, You may have 11, you may go back to 9, and that's perfectly okay, as long as we try to do our best to keep those game day rosters at a relatively low end, so more players are playing. Obviously, the more the young players play, the better they'll become, and they'll have more fun. Playing the game is a lot more fun than sitting watching the game. I'm sure we can all attest to that. So please, if you're involved in a program, be it recreation or recreation, development, indoor or outdoor, please look at your game day roster sizes and ideally keep them to that minimum number if possible. Practice to playing ratio is another one. This has been sort of broken down into 3 sections. So practice to playing ratio here, for example, is 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. So what that means is 2 practices or 3 practices to 1 game. Obviously, to learn new skills, to learn fundamental movements, physical literacy, technical skills, it's important that the young players get good opportunities to practice in a good environment. The appropriate practice, as we see, helps to foster the necessary skills, which then can be practiced and reinforced in competition. The 20 competition days. So this is 20 competitions, in this occasion in a summer season. So a competition, it would be a game that the child plays in, a game that the team plays in. To make sure there's enough practice to game ratio, obviously we can't schedule too many games. So we'd like to have 1 competition day per week. So every 7-day period, have 1 competition day and my 2 or 3 practices, and that gives me time to do other activities and get involved in other sports. Obviously, the more games we put on top of people, there's an opportunity there for children to burn out, overuse injuries, which can add to the high dropout rates we experience when the children are reaching 12, 13, 14 years of age. A competition day would include exhibition games or friendly games, festival or league games. So we spoke about the number of competition days per week, and we have 1. A festival where we have 2 games in 1 day, typically a U8 festival, we play 5v5. So 2 games in 1 day and a festival would equate to 1 competition day. A child playing a 9v9 or 7v7 game would equate to 1 competition day. Travel time has been another part of the matrix that we felt needed a little bit more explanation why we have travel times. Travel in the province the size of Ontario, and I'm sure those of you who have travelled around the province from east to west and north and south can attest to the huge travel distances that are involved. Obviously, with travel, there's cost involved. That cost can be quite expensive. If the travel is extensive, it may mean overnight stays in hotels. It will mean meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for example. But all adds up to more costs for the family. Those costs may be the reason that families cannot get involved in development programs. Also, there should be enough competition within your own district or a short radius from your district to meet the needs of the children. So that is why one of the reasons that the travel time management was put in place. So as you can see in this extract from the matrix, at U8, they would play within the district. U9s and U10s can travel a maximum of 45 minutes each way from the district border. U11s and U12 can travel a maximum of 1 hour each way from the district borders. The travel time is calculated from the district border to the location of the club in which the game is being played. If you're not sure of where your district border is, I would suggest you contact your district association and they can let you know where your district starts and finishes, and you can calculate your travel time from there. And again, for those of us who have sat in cars for long periods of time, there's not a lot of fun, it's a lot of boredom. So we're trying to keep the children active and not sitting for long periods of time in a car. This next slide, travel time research. This is an extract from some research that was done in England and what they call junior team football, where they done some research on 56 children aged between 7 and 11 from a series of grassroots clubs. Now, England is a lot smaller than Ontario, so the travel times in England are reduced greatly than the travel times we may experience here in Ontario. So the numbers you will see, you could probably extend those numbers if we're using an Ontario model, but it gives you a bit of an idea. So at the top, you can see the coloured rectangles. The purple one at each end of the diagram with 19 is the travel time in minutes. The brownish, the light brown colour is the time spent pre-match, and then the green is play time, and the maroon or winey colour with 18 is the substitute time. So a game day consumes almost 2 hours for the average family, and you could argue that it would be more here in Ontario because of the greater distances we travel. The average travel time, so the two 19-minute blocks, is 38 minutes, and the average playing time per child is 29 minutes. So as you can see, they're actually traveling more than they are playing. So obviously that's a concern. We want the children to be playing more, to be active more, to be having more fun, not sitting in cars, traveling to and from games, but rather playing the game and reduce the travel time. Memorable events, another extract from our matrices. Memorable events are for competitive teams or development teams, and the memorable events was created to enable players to have a cultural experience. And what we mean by cultural experiences is children around the south end of Ontario, around the GTA. It would be nice and it would be a good experience for the children, a cultural experience, an educational experience for those children to go into northern Ontario and experience some of the things that happen at the north end of our province. And likewise, the children who are resident in the north of the province of Ontario could travel into the south, into the bigger communities, the more populated communities, and get an idea what happens in the southern end of Ontario. And that's why the memorable events were created. It's for U11 and U12 players, and travel time is waived for these two events. So the travel time is, there is no maximum travel time. The travel time is waived for these memorable events. To qualify for a memorable event, you would contact your club, first of all, to have permission. Then the club would contact your district association, and they would grant you the memorable event or not, based on your application. At least one of the memorable events must be LTPT compliant and be within Ontario. And one of the events can be anywhere in Canada or the USA and does not have to be LTPD compliant. So that allows travel into the US or into another province in Canada, and that event would not have to be LTPD compliant. The matrix is a very simple document, simply laid out. And if more background information is needed, more of the rationale, more of the logic behind it, more of the science behind it, we do have additional documents that will provide that information for you. And here's an example of three of them: the field organization guide, the field organization guide, the game organization guide, and the grassroots festival guide. Along with the curriculum and the game leader guide and the game leader training, each of these documents can provide the necessary background information that would help you better understand the matrix and why we have made the decisions we do. These documents are all available on the OSA website under Grassroots Resources, and they're available for download from the OSA website, along with the other documents I've mentioned, like the curriculum, version 1 and version 2, and many other grassroots player development documents that would assist the coach and the club in developing programs. So please have a look at that website and those documents on the website. I think you'll find them very useful. So just in summary, apologise for the typo, but in summary, indoor and outdoor matrices created for recreational and development grassroots soccer. So U4 to U12 for the recreational matrix and U8 to U12 for the development matrix. All 21 districts are expected to follow the same matrices. They are player-centred documents, meaning we feel strongly, based on research and best practices, that this is what's best for the young player in their development. It's age and stage specific formats of play and age and stage specific elements of the game to be introduced to the young players. The indoor matrices come into effect this coming winter, so the 2015-2016 winter indoor season. And again, if you have any questions about district boundaries, please contact the district office when calculating your travel time. They'll be able to help you with where your boundaries would be. So that's about it for tonight. Hopefully it was helpful. If you have any information, please contact any of the people listed on this slide. Myself, Bobby Lennox, the Manager of Player Development. Carol Horton. Carol is the Regional Manager of Player Development, and Carol looks after the west of the province. So if you reside in Peel Halton or anywhere west of Peel Halton, so out into Kingston, Guelph, Cambridge, Kitchener, London, and down into Windsor, and all parts in between, that includes Huronia, please contact Carl and he can assist you with any of your player development needs. And likewise in the east of the province, a new member of our team is Billy Wilson, and Billy is the Regional Manager of Player Development East. So any clubs, organisations, coaches in the east of the province, that includes Toronto, York Region, out into Scarborough, Durham, out across into Kingston, Ottawa, and all points in between, Billy Wilson would be the man who can help you with any questions you may have. So hopefully you enjoyed tonight's webinar. It will be posted on our website. So if you wanted to review it in the future or you wanted to pass it along to any of your colleagues or friends, it will be available shortly in the OSA website. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions about any player development related questions, please contact any of the people you see in the website. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye for now.